Namaste. Welcome to the Global Festival of Oneness organized by Indica Center for Moksha Studies celebrating the life and works of Adi Shankara. My name is Anuradha and I'm the host for this session. Let us first start with a prayer. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. In this weekend special, we continue with the topic Bhagavadpada Vaibhavam, Life and Legacy of Adi Shankaracharya by Vidwan Manikandan Iyer. For those of you who joined for the first time, I'd like to introduce the speaker. Vidwan Manikandan Iyer, a financial crime specialist by profession and a Sanatani by practice, with Sharada Ji's blessings, has had the rare fortune of studying the Shastras from a tender age. He also studies and continues to study Vyakarana from Vidwan Sri Tilak Rao. He started his Vedanta study under his guru Brahmashri Sridhara Sharma. He has also had the rare fortune of learning Vedanta from the senior most and respected Vidwan in the Vedanta circle, Maha Mahopadhyaya, Shastra Ratnakara Vidwan Sri Mulevasal Krishnamurti Shastri, while continuing to learn under Brahmashri Sri Sridhara Sharma. He has also had the rare fortune of learning Taraka Shastra from Vidwan Sri Naveen Hola of Sringeri, who is the senior most disciple of the 36th Pontiff of Sringeri Sharada Peetam Mahasannidhanam of Sri Sri Bharati Tirtha Mahaswamiji. He recently started a YouTube channel titled Bhakti Priya, where he uploads his discourses on Sanatana Dharma. Welcome, Manikandanji.
Thank you. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Ashasurashi bhavadangavalli bhasai krita dugdha sindhum mandasmitair nindita sharadendum vande ravindasana sundaritvam vaktaramasaadyayameva nitya saraswati swartha samanvitasit nirastadustarka kalankapanka namamitam shankaramarchitangrim Sadatmadhyana-niratam vishayebhyah paranmukham Naumi shastreshu nishnatam Chandrasekhara-bharati Srimad-Shankara-deshikendra-kalite dharma-vyavasthapake Puण्ये-pīṭha-chatuṣṭaye mahitam Shri-Sharada-pīṭhikam Ārūಢasya samasta-shastra-nicaye Panditya-sīmā-juṣaha Vidyatirtha Jagadguru Mama Guru Shri Paduka Me Gatihi Kumbhavam Samupeyushi Bhagavati Kim Bharati Rajate Kim Vasadhana Samhritan Dhritavapur Jnanam Samindhev Param Ityullikhya Savismayam Kritadhiyo Dhyayanti Yam Bharati Tirthasyasya Jagadguru Kushalada Shri Paduka Me Gatihi Kumbharati samudbhutan Shashimaulit Prapujakan Shri Shankaraswaruparyan Naumi Shastra Visharadan Sarvashruti Shirodbhuta Samudbhasita Murtaye Vedantambuja Suryaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Bhagavadpadacharya, in his introduction, the Upodghata to Gita, he says, Praninam sakshad abhyudaya nishreyasa hetuhu yaha sadharmaha brahmanadyir varnibihi ashramibhischa shreyorthibihi anushthiyamanaha dirghena kalena Anushtatrinam kamodbhavat hiyamana viveka vijnana hetukena adharmena abhibhuyamane dharme pravardhamane cha adharme jakataha stitim paripipalaishuhu sa adikarta narayanakhyo vishnuhu bhaumasya brahmanaha brahmanatvasya rakshanartham devakyam vasudevad amshena krishnaha kila sambabhuva. This is how he starts his Gita Bhashya and tells in what context did Bhagavan Sri Krishna descend into this earth to protect the dharma. And in my opinion, the same exact context and the same exact words can also be given to Bhagavadpadacharya where the situation was thus that pravardhamane cha abhibhuyamane dharme pravardhamane cha dharme jagataha stitim paripipalayishuhu sa adikarta narayanaksho vishnuhu, he says. Similarly, when Bhagavadpadacharya's, during the time of Bhagavadpadacharya's avatara, in the last session we saw how the dharma had dwindled and there was a need for someone to uphold this dharma and put everyone in this right track. And in the last session, we had covered until Bhagavadpadacharya's life. Vivekachudamani says, Prakriti Vikriti Bhinnaha Shuddha Bodha Swabhavaha Sade Asade Idam Ashesham Bhasayan Nirvisheshaha Vilasati Paramatma Jagradadishwavastasu Aham Aham Iti Sakshat Sakshirupena Buddhehe. He says that the primal ignorance, which is the avyakta, unmanifest, or avyakrita prakriti, along with the body-mind complex, and the world emerges out of it. The vikriti, which comprises of the worldly experience, and the Paramatma shines forth as pure consciousness, illuminating both unmanifest and the manifest. The beauty is that he is least affected by all of them and remains as separate from them and as Sat, which is the absolute existence or uninterrupted consciousness of I. And when Jivatma appears, is only a superimposition on that Paramatma. It's just like the snake appearing on the rope. When the rope becomes clear in the visible light, the Atman also shines forth from the Vichara, which is the Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Swabhavaha. Bhagavadpadacharya keeps quoting this often as Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Swabhavaha in his Bhashya. And the only way to get out of this superimposition is through knowing one's own nature or attaining that self-knowledge. And this is that Upanishadic revelation. And all the karmas, all the actions are performed, or all the actions given by the Vedas are only to free one from this cycle of birth and death. And similarly, for Bhagavadpadacharya, the Jata Karma, Chaula, and all other rituals had already been performed. Now it was time for Bhagavadpadacharya to be initiated into Vedic studies. There is a saying that says, Garbhashtame Upanayita. However, Bhagavadpadacharya was not 7 to 8 years yet. But Shivaguru decided to perform his Brahmopadesha, keeping in mind the rule that whenever a child has extraordinary intellect, in order to multiply his Brahmavarchas and his Meda, it is okay to perform the Brahmopadesha at the age of 5. And Bhagavadpadacharya was thus initiated into the Brahmacharya ashrama, the first ashrama that a man experiences or undergoes. The astonishing fact is that Bhagavadpadacharya had grasped the essence of all the Shastras, the quintessential teachings of the Upanishads, while his father Shivaguru was teaching other students. There have been instances where Bhagavadpadacharya had also answered questions put forth by Shivaguru, and when Shivaguru was astonished and asked, "My dear child, how did you know this?" Bhagavadpadacharya told, "Sri Sharada Prasadat." And Bhagavadpadacharya, according to the legends, it is said that Bhagavadpadacharya also had the divine vision of the goddess Sharada in Manikya Mangala. And after that, Bhagavadpadacharya's entry into the traditional Vedic studies start. And as the rule says, Sayam Pratar Upaniya Bhaikshyam Gurave Nivedayet. It is a rule given to a brahmachari to ask for alms, bhiksha, after his upanayana, and give that bhiksha, offer that bhiksha to his guru, and then partake whatever is given to him. Following this rule, Bhagavadpadacharya goes for bhikshatana every day. And once Bhagavadpadacharya enters the house enters the house complex of a very highly devoted Brahmin couple who had dedicated their life for performing austerities, but they were extremely poor. They were practicing this Kapola Vritti, which means that they were partaking only whatever was left over, even after the birds and other rats had taken. This is also called as Ayachita Vritti. And the Brahmin couple had endured mental strength and sustained whatever they got. They did not seek for any material wealth, and they were happy and content with whatever they had got. And Bhagavadpadacharya, who is the avatar of Parameshwara, wanted to bless this couple. And so he enters the complex of their house, and in his sweet voice, tender age 5, Bhagavadpadacharya in his sweet voice asks, "Bhavati bhikshan dehi, Amba, Bhavati bhikshan dehi." And that lady is astonished to see as to who has come to her house complex. Is it Sanaka, or is it any divine incarnation? "Oh my boy, who are you, that you are shining like a molten gold?" And she rushes into the kitchen to find nothing. She searched all the vessels and could not find anything except for one salted amlaka, which is Indian gooseberries. She offered that in Bhagavadpadacharya's Bhiksha Patra with utter shame and tears rolling down her cheek. Bhagavadpadacharya, who's an embodiment of compassion, also had tears in his eyes compassion flowed through Bhagavadpadacharya. The shoka came out of Bhagavadpadacharya as shloka, and spontaneously he invoked the goddess of Mangala, Sri Lakshmi, in 18 verses, which is called the Kanakadhara. That Kanakadhara is in itself a Shastra. It has everything. The first, I will try explaining a couple of verses. Only then one can appreciate the enormous beauty of Bhagavadpadacharya. Now, when I say Bhagavadpadacharya, one has to imagine a 5-year-old small boy. The first, he says, Angam haref pulakabhushanam ashrayanti bringanganiva mukulabharanam tamalam Angikrita khila vibhuti rapangalila mangalya dastu mama mangala devatayaha. This shloka in itself has the entire essence of Shringara Rasa, all the Sahitya Bhava, and the relationship between Bhagavan Mahavishnu and Goddess Lakshmi. He says, salutations to Mahalakshmi, who always dwells in the body of Mahavishnu like an ornament of ecstatic delight, Pulaka. He says, Bringanganiva Mukulabharanam Tamalam, like the bees which delightfully decorate or dwell over the half-open flowers of the Tamala tree. Tamala is not usually found in South India. It is in the regions of Vrindavan that is found. And the tree, the flower is in blue-hued color, which is the form or which is the color of Mahavishnu. Isn't it astonishing that a 5-year-old small boy is praising in such beauty? Then, Angikrita Akhila Bhutihi Apangalila, who has contained within her body the entire opulence of universe through the play of her divine glance, Apangalila. May that glance bring auspiciousness in my life. That divine glance of Mangala Devata. Mangalya dastu mama Mangala Devatayaha. See, and it goes. I will explain 2 more stanzas and go. I am tempted to explain 2 more stanzas here. He says, Vishwamarendra Padavibhrama Danadaksham Ananda Hetuhu Adhikam Muravidvishopi Ishan Nishidatu Mayikshanam Ikshanardham Indivarodara Sahodaram Indirayaha. He again says, salutations to Mahalakshmi. He says, who is capable of granting the positions of chief of devatas of all the 3 worlds. Vishwamarendra Pada Vibhrama Danadaksham. Just by a wish. And he says, Ananda Hetur Adhikam Muravidvishopi. And she is also capable of providing that overflowing joy, with great joy, to the enemy of Mura, that is Sri Hari. Ishan Nishidatu Mayi Kshanam Ikshanardham. May a little of that glance of grace. Even a moment of that little glance rest on me from her half closed eyes. Ikshanardham. Indivarodara sahodaram indirayaha. The eyes with splendor resemblance of the blue lotuses. What a beauty. Then he says, now there is a conversation between Mahalakshmi and Bhagavadpadacharya, and Mahalakshmi says that I cannot bestow good on her because in her past janma she was a miser and she did not perform any good deeds. So Bhagavadpadacharya fights for that lady as if a lawyer argues in a court. He says, Dadyad dayanu pavanaha dravinambudharam asmin akinchana vihanga shishau vishanne dushkarma gharma mapaniya chiraya duram narayana pranayini nayanambuvaha. He says, salutations to that Mahalakshmi. May she bestow that wind of her mercy and shower her wealth. Dadyad dayanu pavanaha dravinambudharam asmin akinchana vihanga shishau vishanne. To this utterly destitute, who is helpless like a child of a bird and is suffering with poverty. So Mahalakshmi remove that poverty, the forever heat of her sinful activities from her life. Dushkarma gharma mapaniya chiraya duram. Take it far away. Narayana pranayini nayanambuvaha. May the shower of rain of mercy from the eyes of the beloved Narayana. See, Bhagavadpadacharya knows how to address. He asks for something. And when he says, Oh Mahalakshmi, do this, he thinks that she may not do. And he says, Narayana pranayini nayanambuvaha. And after this, it is a well-known story that there was a shower of golden amalakas, and the boy who made this was a reason for this amalaka did not pay any heed whatsoever to that golden amalakas and moved away. But as a prayer of Bhagavadpadacharya, the goddess of wealth still resides in that household. And after that, Bhagavadpadacharya stays in Gurukula for 3 years, finishes his study. Ashtavarshe Chaturvedhi. He finishes all the Vedic studies and returns back home. When he returns back home, by then, the story of Kanakadhara, the story about the Medha Shakti of Bhagavadpadacharya would have spread like a wildfire. And so the king Rajashekara comes with all material offerings to be given to Bhagavadpadacharya. And King Rajashekara had written 3 plays in Sanskrit, dramas in Sanskrit, which he shows to Bhagavadpadacharya, reads out to Bhagavadpadacharya. Bhagavadpadacharya listens carefully to this. This is a very important juncture, or this is a very important scene, because I will tell that later. And Bhagavadpadacharya suggests few corrections to be made in those places. And as a norm, the king Rajashekara offers huge amount of wealth to Bhagavadpadacharya. Bhagavadpadacharya, who is an embodiment of Vairagya, says that it is not my ashrama dharma to accept all these things. Only adhyayana and adhyapana is vihita to me, and therefore I will not accept this respectfully, and I request you to kindly take this back. So Rajashekara is amused by the Vairagya that this 8-year-old small boy has. And after that, Rajashekara devises a plan. He says, "It is okay, you don't have to take it, my lord. At least keep this in your possession and distribute this wealth to whoever is in need." Bhagavadpadacharya says that it is not my duty or it is not my ashrama dharma to keep anything in my possession and distribute. It is the duty of that king. You are that king, you are in that place now. So it is vihita, it is ordained to you to do that and not to me. So kindly take back all these possessions. Now the Raja who had come, now he becomes a beggar in front of Bhagavadpadacharya's Vairagya and Jnana. Why I said that this is a very important juncture in Bhagavadpadacharya's life is that in the later course, when Rajashekara happens to meet Bhagavadpadacharya post his sannyasa after a very long time, due to quirk of fate, Rajashekara loses all his place and Bhagavadpadacharya recites or enunciates the entire plays, the drama, all the 3 plays back to Rajashekara. Such was the intellect of Bhagavadpadacharya. And by this time, Shivaguru had left his mortal coils and Aryamba, who was a very pious lady, used to perform severe austerities, severe vratas, severe anushtanas, japa, used to daily take holy dip in that divine flowing river called Purna. The name itself is fulfilling. River name itself is fulfilling, which is Purna. No other river has such fulfilling name. Only Bhagavadpadacharya's associated rivers have this. The word in itself is fulfilled, so is the river. And it was the norm of Aryamba to take holy dip in Purna Nadi and perform her austerities and japa. One day, when Aryamba was on her way to perform her anushtana in the Purna Nadi, she had this deep desire to envision Lord Parameshwara, who had bestowed a child just like him, or a child that was born of a prayer from him. Like Vivekananda says, a child that is not born out of a prayer is a curse to the mankind. So, Bhagavadpadacharya's mother, Aryamba, wished to see that Lord who had bestowed her a divine child. And to her astonishment, after she finished her anushtana, she saw a white deer galloping near a small hillock nearby. She followed that deer, and after a point, it merges, and there is a divine Shivalinga in that form, in that place where this white deer was galloping. And that place today is called as Tiruvellaiman Tulli. And over the course of time, Aryamba also made it a customary anusthana to visit this Vellaiman Tulli Kshetra. And it is said that Adi Shankara Bhagavadpadacharya wrote the hymn He Chandrachuda Madanantaka Shulapane Sthano Girisha Girijesha Mahesha Shambho Bhutesha Bhita Bhayasudana Mamanatham Samsara Dukkha Gahanat Jagadisha Raksha. In this temple. And this continued for a period of time, and Aryamba was also growing old. And she could not walk long distances to perform her anusthana. And one day, when she was returning from her anusthana, due to the scorching heat, Aryamba faints, and Bhagavadpada assists his mother, does shushrusha to her, and asks her why she is troubling herself. And he also tells that, my dear mother, do not worry. For Purna, she will start flowing right behind our household. So natural to a mother, she just smiles and thinks that Bhagavadpadacharya is talking out of the extreme love and compassion that he has for his mother. Little did she know that he was an incarnation of Bhagavadpada, was an incarnation of Dakshinamurti himself. Bhagavadpadacharya then goes for his anusthana, prays Purna Nadi as Ambe Supurne Karunambuvahe Galanti Bhumavanukampayatvam Tvadiya Nire Bhavasindu Tire Nimajjaya Puto Janani Bhaveyam Shruteri-vartham saratiha mataha munerivantar-mananam nijantam aham chidananda raseti ghoshaha shruti prasiddho dhvanireshatemba. This is not in the Shankara Digvijayas, but a very great saint, a jivanmukta Purusha, has written this holy hymn called Purna Nadi Stava, and he prays to Purna Nadi. And it was time of the Tula rains, northeastern monsoon rains season. And that day night, Bhagavadpadacharya is sleeping on the one end of the room. Aryamba is on the other end. And middle of the night, they hear thunder and huge bouldering rocks falling. And everyone starts running helter-skelter. And there is huge chaos. And everyone shouts, there is flood, there is flood. Purna has changed her course of flowing. And Aryamba is astonished. She has tears flowing down her cheek. And from one end of the room, she sees Bhagavadpadacharya, and he's sleeping in his yoga nidra, in absolute that nirvikalpa samadhi. He pretends as if nothing has happened. But Aryamba knows that this is because of Bhagavadpadacharya's vak. And Aryamba, unlike the worldly mothers, she will not go trumpeting about this news and keeps it low within her. After this, Aryamba also starts to realize slowly that Bhagavadpadacharya, her son, is not an ordinary human being. And next day, Purna Nadi started flowing right behind their house. And next morning, Bhagavadpadacharya and his close friend Vishnu Sharma, who's later called as Chitsukacharya, who wrote the great Vada Grantha of Chitsuki. He in his Purvashrama was called as Vishnu Sharma. Bhagavadpadacharya and Vishnu go and stand on the banks of river Purna. And Vishnu is astonished. And he asks, because they were very thick, close friends, he asks, Shankara, what an astonishment is this? I haven't heard of any where a river changes its course or path and flows. Bhagavadpadacharya, who is the Jnanacharya, says, Vishnu, just like the river has changed its course, so too should we. Our sense organs have been flowing outside, perceiving only material wealth, material objects, only consuming material knowledge. It is out of this tattva or guru sannidhi, one has to turn his indriyas and karanas inwards and dive deep within to know one's self. And Vishnu Sharma is still astonished, and he asks, Shankara, what an astonishment. How can one be so endowed with so much vairagya? And Bhagavadpadacharya, first time he expresses his deep desire to enter into that yatyashrama. He says, Bhagavadpadacharya says that this Vishnu Sharma asks if Bhagavadpadacharya, who's already endowed with all the Shastras, he knows everything, can't he himself learn all this? Bhagavadpadacharya gives a very, very important teaching. He says, Sarva Shastra Vidapi, Prajnavanapi, Swatantrena Brahmaveshanam Nakuryat. Even if he knows all the Shastras, even if he is Prajnavan, he should never do the Brahman Veshana, the inquiry about one's own nature on his own. Swatantrena Brahman Veshanam Nakuryat. In case someone has done that, Murkhavat Upekshaniyaha, he has to be renounced as if he is a Murkha. And so, Vishnu Sharma asks, can one just attain that self-knowledge or knowledge about oneself just by renouncing? And Bhagavadpadacharya says one beautiful shloka. He says, Hey yata Vishnu, phalam pakvam swayameva patishyati, tatha samsara bandhoyam viraktasya vimuchyate. He says, just as the ripened fruit falls from a tree without plucking, so does when one is endowed with deep vairagya, knows the inconsistencies of this life, of this samsara, so does he renounce this world, goes to a guru, surrenders to a guru, and then seeks for this divine knowledge. And after this conversation, Bhagavadpadacharya is seen deeply contemplating on the essence of the Shastras, silent, not involving in other activities. And one day, he expresses his desire to Aryamba. The words of Bhagavadpadacharya hits Aryamba as a thunderbolt. She cries vehemently and says, what do I do? I have only you, Shankara. Bhagavadpadacharya resorts not to say anything. And she is Jagadamba herself. She is the one who has given us Bhagavadpadacharya. Won't she have that maturity? And now that longing for renunciation is deep within. Like they say in the Shastra, when the longing for renunciation, when the longing for a guru, when the longing for a Shastra, when the longing to know about oneself is deep, Viveka Chudamani says, as if one's head is on fire. In what urgency does one try to put off that fire? It is in that deep renunciation, longing for that renunciation, Bhagavadpadacharya is now waiting. And that is whenever there is deep desire, that Atma itself manifests in the form of Guru, in the form of Shastra. Everything is given to him. And now there is a divine Leela that happens. There is a group of huge number of sannyasis that are on the way towards Gokarna, Rameshwaram and Anantashayanam. And they are coming from north. There are huge number of sannyasis and they enter Kaladi. And Bhagavadpadacharya, as a norm, these sannyasis do not enter the inner complex of the house and stay at the outer complex and do the bhiksha and the anusthana there. And Bhagavadpadacharya finishes his madhyanika and comes out and he sees this huge group of sannyasis there. And this is the first time Bhagavadpadacharya is seeing such a huge group of crowd. And the head of that group is a very great saint, says their shishyas, and that head of the group sees Bhagavadpadacharya and asks, "Oh my dear child, who are you? You are glowing like the flame of knowledge. Are you Sanat Kumara? Are you Kapila? Or Are you Shiva himself? See, when someone praises us, we lose our senses and just glee with that praises. Bhagavadpadacharya's reply is a lesson to all of us. He says, there was a revered Brahmana in this house called Shivaguru and his pious wife called Aryamba. And I am their only son called Shankara. And Bhagavadpadacharya says, I pray humbly to reveal your holy identity to me. And that sage gives this divine message of his guru to Bhagavadpadacharya. And he says, listen, my child, you are not an ordinary child. You are a Karaka Purusha. You are descended on this holy earth with a God's mission. Your guru is waiting for you in the banks of river Narmada. And his divine name is Govinda Bhagavadpadacharya. And he is the last sage from Avichinna Guru Parampara, starting from Vishnu himself. Like we say, Narayanam, Brahma, then Vasishta, then Shakti, then Parashara, Vyasa, Shuka, and Gaudapada. And Gaudapada's Shishya is Govinda Bhagavadpadacharya. And he is waiting there for you. And the only reason that he is holding his body is because he had a divine vision of Shiva, who said that I have incarnated here and you will have to give this boy the sannyasa. And adhering to that holy words of Shiva, Govinda Bhagavadpadacharya is in Yoga Samadhi. My child, I know it is not right to separate you from your mother, but you are a Karaka Purusha. So, you will have to cross the oceans of Purna, Pratichi, Krishna, Tunga, Godavari and reach the holy banks of river Narmada and attain your Guru. So, Bhagavadpadacharya feels a relief of sight. He has got this divine message. He knows the route now because that divine sage has also told him the route through which he has to travel to meet his Guru. And he says, I am relieved. I am blessed by your sight. Can you please tell me, reveal your identity, O Mahapurusha? And that divine sage says, I am not different from you. The seer does not see any difference between people. So, there is no difference between me and you. You are me indeed. Nanau pashyanti kavayaha chidram jatumanadapi. And then he reveals his identity. He smiles and he leaves. Bhagavadpadacharya then understands who has given this divine message, who was none other than Agastya himself, who also was a great turning point in Shivaguru's life, where he asks Shivaguru to marry and beget a child. And after this, days and months pass by, And Bhagavadpadacharya is in deep contemplation. And one day, due to course of this change in Purna river, the flow, a temple that was situated right next to Bhagavadpadacharya's housing complex had been dilapidated, due to which there were a huge number of snakes, scorpions, and other venomous animals entering that temple. And so Bhagavadpadacharya wanted to reconstruct, consecrate that temple and do the Kumbhabhisheka. And after all the Kumbhabhisheka process was done, along with his friend Vishnu Sharma, Bhagavadpadacharya enters the Purna Nadi to do the Avabhrita Snana. And while performing that Avabhrita Snana, it is a well-known story that a crocodile, we do not know what kind of a crocodile that was, catches Bhagavadpadacharya's legs and it keeps pulling him towards the tides. And Bhagavadpada, there is huge chaos that everyone runs apart away from the banks. And Aryamba hears this devastating news that Bhagavadpadacharya's, Shankara's leg has been caught by a crocodile. And she shouts in deep pang. And Bhagavadpadacharya uses this divine opportunity and says, "O mother, at least bestow me, grant me the will of sannyasa now. If you do so, this divine crocodile will leave me and I will be freed." And that moment, Aryamba gives her consent to Bhagavadpadacharya to take upon the sannyasa ashrama. Like I said, we do not know what kind of a crocodile that was. The Leela had to happen. And so, Bhagavadpadacharya is freed now. And he comes out so natural like a mother. Aryamba says, "My child, I am so happy that you are relieved. Come home, let's go." And Bhagavadpadacharya says, those conversation in itself will give goosebumps. Bhagavadpadacharya says, "My mother, the entire world is now a home for me. Everyone is mother and father to me now." And Aryamba is shocked by this reply of Bhagavadpadacharya. And she cries and she says, "My child, what do I do without you? What do I do? You are the only person I have in my life." Those conversations are very beautiful in Madhaviya. Due to lack of time, I will refrain from reciting those. And Bhagavadpadacharya says, "Mother, do not worry." She asks, "Who else will call me as Amma now?" Bhagavadpadacharya consoles her and he says, "Do not worry, my mother. The entire world will call you as Aryamba. Entire mankind will call you as Amma. Do not worry and have my word. When it is your end to leave this mortal coil, to leave this mortal world, I will come before you the moment you think of me." And the 8-year-old child leaves Kaladi, starts traveling And the first destination that he goes is Sringeri. He enters the Tunga, performs his Anusthana there, sits in deep meditation, and after he opens his eyes, he has a very beautiful scene in front of him where he sees a natural enemy snake opening its hood to give shelter to its natural enemy frog. Bhagavadpadacharya is astonished that deep, dense forest of Sringeri, that divine trees, that divine antariksha of Sringeri, everything astonishes. And he remembers that ahimsa pratishtayam tat sannidhau vairatyagaha from Patanjala Yoga Sutra, where there is ahimsa, even the natural enemies leave their vairatva. And he felt that this is a divine place, and he walks a little further, and not very far he sees a small hillock, and he climbs that, and he enters that divine temple. And there is a group of sages that are living there. They see Bhagavadpadacharya and they are astonished. They ask if he is the divine incarnation of Shiva who himself has come in this form to bestow them. And Bhagavadpadacharya, with all humility, all reverence, asks that sage who was living there about the importance of this place. And that sage tells him the entire story of Rishyashringa and Vibhandaka, and how that sage was married to Dasharatha's daughter Shanta, and how the Lord himself gave the Panchakshara to Rishyashringa, and the Shivalinga that Rishyashringa and Shanta worship still exists. All this story he says, and Bhagavadpadacharya mind naturally turns inwards in this spot, and he has this place remains a divine dream for Bhagavadpadacharya. And after that he walks, and after 3 long months, unimaginable 3 long months, through various group of sannyasis, traveling through different modes, through carts, through walk, through dense forests, after 3 long months, Bhagavadpadacharya reaches that holy banks of Narmada. Narmada is also known as Lingagarbha, who has Linga or Shivalinga in her womb. And there he asks for Govinda Bhagavadpadacharya. And Govinda Bhagavadpadacharya is in a cave in his Yoga Nidra. Bhagavadpadacharya enters that cave. He surrenders to his Guru. He says, Swamin Namaste Nataloka Bandho Karunya Sindho Patitam Bhavabdho Mamuddhara Atmiya Kataksha Drishtya Rijva Atikarunya Sudabhi Vrishtya. That sweet voice of Bhagavadpadacharya reaches Govinda Bhagavadpada, and Govinda Bhagavadpada slowly emerges out of his yoga samadhi. He sees this child and asks, "Who are you, my child?" And that is when the divine holy hymns, the entire quintessential teachings of Vedanta, the Prasthana-traya, flow through Bhagavadpadacharya in the form of Dashashloki. Na bhumir, na toyam, na tejo, na vayuhu, na kham nendriyam va, na tesham samuhaha. Anaikantikatvat sushuptyeka siddhastadeko vashishta shivah kevaloham. न वर्णा न वर्णा श्रमाचार धर्मा न मेधारणा ध्यान योगादयोपि अनात्माश्रयाहं ममाध्यासहानात् तदेकः अवशिष्टः शिवः केवलोऽहम्. He says, after removing न भूमिः न तोयं न तेजो न वायुः न खं नेन्द्रियं वा न तेषां समूहः, after removing, negating everything, that which cannot be negated is that which is shining forth as I am that pure consciousness. Tadekaha avashishtaha shivah kevaloham. Na varna shramachara dharma na medharana dhyana yoga dayopi. Anatma shayaham mamadhyasahana tadekaha avashishtaha shivah kevaloham. Na shasta na shastram na shishyo na shiksha na chatvam na chaham na chayam prapanchaha. Swarupavabhodo vikalpa sahishnuhu tadekaha avashishtaha shivah kevaloham. He goes on so on. न जागरन न मे स्वप्न को वा सुषुप्तिः न विश्वो न वा तैजसः प्राज्ञ को वा अविद्यात्मकत्वात् त्रयाणां तुरीयः तदेकः अवशिष्टः शिवः केवलोऽहम्. Divine hymns, the entire quintessential teachings of Vedanta is given here. He says that which cannot be negated even after all those things superimposed are negated, that which shines forth as I in each one's heart as supreme consciousness, pure consciousness. I am that tattva. Bhagavadpada.
I'd like to interrupt you. Yeah, please go ahead. We are actually nearing our end of the program.
2-3 minutes. 2-3 minutes. Bhagavadpadacharya's this shloka reaches Govinda Bhagavadpadacharya's ears. His divine karunya netra falls on Bhagavadpadacharya, and thus Bhagavadpadacharya is formally initiated into his sannyasa ashrama, and Govinda Bhagavadpadacharya gives him the divine name of Shankara Bhagavadpadacharya. With this, we will close these sessions. We have 2 more sessions in the coming weekends. We will try and cover as much as possible. I offer this, the holy feet of Mahasanidhanam and my Guru, and close this. Sadguru Maharaj ki Jai. I thank Advaita Academy for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Manikandan-ji, for taking us through this beautiful journey. There's one question. Somebody's asking if you could share the source and lyrics for this Purna Nadi Stuti. Where can they find it? That's what somebody has asked. One of the viewers.
I will just give my email ID. Whoever wants to need those, I will.
Yeah, that will be perfect.
I have given that. Just give me 1 second. Okay.
Yeah, we've got it. Mail to Iyer@gmail.com.
Iyer@gmail.com. I have given the email ID. Whoever wants that can mail me. I will send that to them.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. We have many more such sessions in the evening at 7 p.m. India time. We have another program. We have an interview today evening of Chitranjan Naik, and the interviewer is Nitin Sridhar. The topic is on the existence of the self. Interview with Sri Chitranjan Naik. I mean, if you could display the flyer, people will see. Yeah, that is the topic. So please do come and listen to this event. Thank you. Before that, I'd like to say the closing prayers. Om Sarvesham Swastir Sarvesham Shantir Sarvesham Purnam Sarvesham Mangalam Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayaha, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you very much and see you in the evening.